Welcome to CMO Journeys, where we sit down with the marketing leaders shaping some of today's most innovative brands. I'm Christian Badak, and I explore the stories behind CMOs, how they lead, how they grow, and how they think about partnering with agencies. Today's guest is Tim Asimos, Chief Marketing Officer at Timmons Group, a 70-year-old engineering and technology firm based in Richmond, Virginia. They specialize in civil engineering, environmental services, and geospatial technology. With over 20 offices across the U.S., if you've driven on it, built on it, or mapped it, chances are Timmons has had a hand in it. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. So you've recently joined Timmons Group, but now in a brand new CMO role. Curious, what's been the most exciting or maybe unexpected part of stepping back into this next chapter?
Yeah, I'd say it's all been exciting. Kind of in the back of my head, I knew I wanted to move back client side eventually. So I'd say it's been an exciting few months being back. Challenges are like anything coming into an organization and a new role, just really getting your bearings and you have those initial ideas and thoughts, but making sure that you really have a good assessment of things before you start being too prescriptive with problem solving or ideas or innovations that you might want to bring. I'd say patience has really been the biggest challenge, just to be patient. Um, really to think of this as this is where it's different than the agency world. This isn't a campaign or an annual retainer. This is like I've got a long runway, and it's going to take me time and years to really build what I want to build and really help the firm in the ways that I see the opportunity to help in marketing. So patience is definitely something that I'm having to get comfortable with lately.
Sure. I like that patience. So, as you kind of alluded to, you've had a full circle journey here. You were actually at Timmons previously. You've worked at agencies. Then you went into customer experience tech. Now to the CMO seat. Let's rewind it back. Where did this whole career path even begin for you?
Yeah, so I was an advertising major in undergrad. I had interned at an agency in college, thought that was what I wanted to do. Ended up in media and advertising media for almost 5 years. Got my MBA, ended up in a marketing management role actually here at Timmons Group. Spent about 6 years here, cut my teeth in this AEC industry, and really just wanted to be able to do more digital marketing. I was super passionate, I still am super passionate about web and digital and all of those things. So I ended up joining an agency to really start a digital practice, and there was just synergy with. We were kind of niching as an agency, had one or two AEC clients, and we kind of all put our heads together and we're like, hey, it's an underserved industry. And my background, plus the fact that the agency had experience with a couple firms, could be a really nice value proposition. And spent 11 years at that agency, really building both the digital practice as well as a real niche and expertise in the AEC industry. Was there for 11 years, and yeah, then was looking to do something outside of agency. I know this is an agency crowd, so no one's surprised to hear that I'm like, yeah, it's a tough, grinding kind of industry to be in, and I just was itching for an opportunity to do something else in the technology realm, and got a chance to go be head of growth for a SaaS platform that's focused on customer experience management software built for AEC firms. So I got to kind of stay in the industry I had kind of unintentionally been a part of for 20 years and help them grow. Was there for almost 2 years, and the opportunity called for this particular position at Timmons Group to be their first CMO and to really kind of usher in a new era of marketing and sales here at the firm, and it was just a perfect match and an opportunity that, yeah, I couldn't pass up.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Yeah, interesting how you've boomeranged. You've jumped in from agency to tech to brand side. So yeah, really interesting journey. Curious, what's a lesson that maybe you took away from let's say the tech side, of the business, of your career, I should say, that you're now applying at Timmons here.
Yeah. Um, the industry that I'm in, the AEC industry, they don't even like to use the word sales. It's business development. And what I've learned from the tech industry is just they're a lot better at sales. It's a lot more structured. It's a lot more analytical, and I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned for my industry from the tech world, just in how they structure sales and business development, and how they track and measure sales, and sort of the supporting role marketing should have in sales enablement and buyer enablement and demand generation. And that's definitely a lot more prominent in SaaS than it is in this AEC industry. So that's definitely a big lesson that I'm kind of taking from the SaaS world.
Sure, sure. Yeah, we see very similar parallels with the agency world and business development. They don't like saying salespeople; they're business development people, right? Curious your take. Why is that? Is it a why is the professional services generally lagging behind SaaS business? Is it a budget concern that they can't pour as much sales and marketing dollars behind it? What's your perspective on that?
Yes to all of those. I think professional services in everything from this architecture and engineering to legal to accounting. I mean, there was a once a point of time when you weren't allowed to advertise or market, right? Like I think it was the 70s when finally became legal to run advertisements for your engineering or architecture or even your law firm. It was just prohibited, right? And so there's that historical angle where retail has always been about advertising and marketing and promotion. It's an industry where a lot of times the thought is, well, no one can sell it better than the individuals that are going to actually be doing the work. So it's a real interesting industry with professional services, and agency really isn't all that different, right? A lot of agency partners, founders, principals, they are the ones doing the work. So often they feel like they're the ones that should be pitching the work and selling the work.
Yep.
And so I think that bias just historically has limited the thinking around, even like you said, business development versus sales. I think business development is more attuned to this whole, even calling them clients versus customers, that you get into some of those debates. But I think that, um, yeah, it's just you're selling an intangible, you're selling a service, you're selling something that they can't do a trial for, they can't test drive it, they can't return it if they don't like it. So that in and of itself just creates an interesting dynamic. So when it comes to marketing and sales, and so I just think historically professional services has just been very conservative in how they market and how they sell. And I think that underlying bias of, well, we're really, really different than this industry or that industry or consumer. Therefore, we have to do everything completely differently. And so I think for a lot of us that have been in this industry a while, trying to overcome that kind of mentality with like, hey, a good marketing strategy can be applied to any industry, and it's all about just thinking about the end user and the customer and how to reach them, how to engage them, how to attract them, how to move them along the buyer's journey. It's really not all that different. It's just what we're selling is different. And so the approach has to be adjusted for it. But at the end of the day, you're still, marketing is marketing. But that, as simple of an idea as that is, that can really be an uphill battle to convince folks in leadership in professional services that yeah, it's really not that different from selling sneakers. It's just, when it comes to the marketing and promotion side, it's just, yeah, the strategies are going to be a little different, but a brand is a brand and customer experience is customer experience. No matter what you're selling, you just have to apply it appropriately.
Yeah, yeah, very true. Yeah, it's always makes me laugh with the agency space. It's the cobbler's kids have no shoes. They do the marketing for their clients, but very little, for themselves. So,
Yeah. And like I'll soapbox on that for a second. I That's an excuse that I've heard a million times, and it's like the clients see right through that, right? Like you should really be doing your best marketing work on your own marketing. If you're telling your clients to have a great website, you should have a great website. If you're telling your clients that they need to be investing in things like content marketing and demand generation, then you know what? You should be a thought leader and a subject matter expert, and your content should be everywhere, right? So I think clients are a lot more savvy now than maybe they used to be, and they're starting to look for those kinds of experts and those that really practice what they preach.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. The ones that always get me are the social media agencies, and they don't even have a social media page. Some of these agencies, so it makes me laugh. But neither
Yeah.
here nor there.
Yep.
So, um, you've had obviously a very interesting career, a lot of different places you've gone. Was there a certain experience or a manager or somebody or something that really shaped your leadership style today?
Hmm. That's a great question. Yeah, there actually was one. Well, I would say several, right? I've been blessed with a lot of different leaders over the year that I have had as a mentor. I've also worked with some really great colleagues over the years that I've learned from. Um, I'd say maybe the catalyst for it was one particular manager leader that I had. In my first company before I moved to Timmons Group. She was just one of those people that took an interest in me and really gave me unsolicited feedback. It was my first experience with someone that was coaching me. I hadn't asked her to be my mentor. I wasn't asking her for advice or input. She just saw that I had a lot of potential and told me that and said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a lot of advice and input, and I think if you listen to it, it'll take you far." And she really, I think she really set me up. I was going through my MBA around the same time, and I think those having her as a mentor and having the MBA experience really, I think, helped me to become the leader that I've grown into. She started me really on that trajectory for sure.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, always so important, especially how timing sometimes aligns as well. Her coming along at that time of the MBA, I'm sure had a even greater impact than she would have had maybe otherwise.
Yeah, and it's interesting because she was invested in me because I was her employee. Um, but it was so much bigger than that. Like
Yeah,
when I told her I was leaving to come to Timmons Group and I had just finished my MBA, they had paid for part of it. She could have easily been miffed and felt like I had somehow been a disloyal or, hey, yeah, way to get your MBA with us paying for half of it and then move up. She could not have been happier for me. She couldn't have been more proud of me. And I really feel like she taught me that a really good leader invest in their people and invest to help their people grow, and not just for self-serving reasons, but really just to try to help people, paying it forward and paying it backwards, right? Like you're investing in people, you see their potential, you help them reach and achieve their potential, and then you can take personal kind of pride and satisfaction in knowing that you have helped grow people in their career. And so she taught me that. And since that day, I've always tried to invest in the people that report to me. And yeah, when you lose really good people, it sucks. But man, you have to be happy for people when they're bettering their career, when they're getting an opportunity that you can't offer them. She really kind of taught me that out of the gate, is just to really invest in your people.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And you never know. Future's a long time. Look, you boomerang back to Timmons.
I had no idea. I left on great terms, but I would have never in a million years thought I'd be back. Um, but now it seems like a perfectly written story. So it's kind of funny how that works sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that story a bit. You're a few months into role. What has your kind of first 90-day priorities looked like?
Yeah. So I've got a decent sized team here. We're pushing close to 30 people in our marketing organization, and so there's been a lot of just kind of staff related things. We had several open positions. I've added some positions, just getting to know my people, kind of setting the tone for what our culture here in our marketing team's going to be, giving the vision for where we're going to go. So I've really been investing a lot in the people, as well as I spent the first 30 days really with my consultant hat on, kind of doing discovery and just auditing and having lots of conversations very similar to the ones that I had for 11 years at the agency, just really trying to understand the business and their challenges and their opportunities and all of that, and really form sort of a strategic assessment to get kind of alignment with senior leadership. Hey, this is kind of the state of marketing. This is some opportunities. Here's some recommendations, big picture, and get alignment with them. And then the last, I'd say, 30 days, I've been working on our 2026 strategic marketing roadmap. Don't call it a plan. I'm real intentional calling it a roadmap. Plans can be a bit nebulous. A roadmap is very clear instructions on how to get you where you're trying to go. And we've got some clear growth goals, and I'm trying to create a roadmap that will help us get there. So yeah, it's been a fast and furious 2.5, almost 3 months now, but been real focused. Yeah, focused on the people, focused on that discovery, and now I'm really kind of focuses on creating that strategy for where we're going to go next year and really beyond.
And beyond. Yeah, yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, your team spans brand, BD, pursuits. What does that in-house structure look like today, and where do you see maybe opportunities for agency partners or outside collaboration, if at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I believe in agencies. I think they have a place in my sort of plans. I'm a big fan of building out some internal capabilities that we need every single day. So I've intentionally added, we just recently added a designer and sort of motion graphics artist. I've added someone in growth marketing and analytics and sort of digital world. So we have our brand and communications team. That's kind of where those two roles sit. Um, they're focused on Marcom and really just content marketing and demand generation and web and social media storytelling, all of that. We've got a business development team that is basically our sales team. That is in the professional services world. You have what's called the seller doers. They're the engineers that also sell. That's our primary way of getting new work. But our corporate professional business development staff does a lot of hard work, looking for opportunities, making introductions, having meetings, setting up meetings, attending conferences, and really trying to establish and identify opportunities. That falls under me as well. So I've got kind of the sales org, and then the pursuits team is focused on the process of pursuing projects. So that's a that's a sort of a function that's foreign to some industries, but in the professional services world, we live and die by things like proposals and presentations. We respond to RFPs. We get shortlisted. We then have to effectively pitch, although we don't call it pitch here. We call it a shortlist interview. But it's the same idea. It's a dog and pony. It's a presentation. You're trying to convince them why your approach, your solution, your team is better than the other two equally qualified firms that are waiting out in the lobby for their interview. And so there's a lot of strategy that really needs to take place for that whole pursuit life cycle. And sort of what I'm looking to do is establish more collaboration, more alignment, more synergy between those three seemingly disparate groups, but yet we need all three working really hard together, I think, to achieve what we're looking to do. Where I see agencies playing a role is in things like some of those outsourced services and expertise that we don't have. Like if I was gonna, do a brand refresh or a brand strategy, I would want to work with a partner. Building a website, that's something I want to work with. Eventually, if we get into things like PPC or social media advertising, there's probably going to reach a point when having an expert that kind of can run those campaigns. That's sort of where I see that. CX is something that we will be focusing on a lot in the year ahead. Working with a partner there will also be really important. So I really see it as looking for ways to kind of be complementary to what we have on our internal team, as well as really add on some things that we don't have, and those expertise that again I don't have necessarily a day-to-day need for to justify a position, but keeping that with some experts that can help us along the way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You had mentioned previously about content marketing, and from my research into you, it looks like you've been a strong advocate for thought leadership and content marketing over the years. Obviously, search is evolving with AI and LLMs, and how people discover content is changing. How are you thinking about thought leadership here at Timmons?
Yeah. Um, it's like the very, very simple way that I like to have always tried to position content marketing and thought leadership. Um, every firm says they're an expert, but really good content marketing leaves your target audience coming to that conclusion on their own. And so it's a lot less about telling everyone that we're experts, and it's a lot more about showing them that we are through consistent content that really speaks to the interests, the questions, the challenges that our target audiences face, and writing about the things, publishing things that they're interested in, right? So we have been a little more focused on the storytelling side of really great projects, really cool clients. That has a role, will continue to have a role, but I think thought leadership is an area where we can differentiate ourselves with our subject matter expertise and sort of our viewpoint of different issues and challenges I think that our clients are facing.
Do you see that as a top of funnel to get on the radar of companies, or you see it more as middle funnel, bottom funnel to kind of convince them that you're the right partner?
Yeah, great question. I think in our world it's all the above. Even on the existing clients, I think reinforcing, hey, that we have the right partner here, adding value to our clients in this industry and probably every industry, certainly the agency industry. You want to maintain your clients, you want to grow them, expand them, land and expands, how I always like to refer to it. Thought leadership and content marketing should absolutely be a tool for existing clients, not just that top of funnel awareness and prospects. I think it serves a place in every part of the buyer's journey and the client journey as well. So we're kind of looking at it holistically as a strategy, not just for demand generation, but also for ongoing client engagement as well.
Sure. Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I would like to shift gears. As you know, this is listened to by a lot of agencies, and you've got a really interesting perspective being on both sides of the agency. So I'd like to ask some questions around that. Let's say you were looking for a new partner. My assumption is you're connected, you know people in the industry. That's probably where you'd go first. But let's say that comes up dry. Where are you going to find agencies that might meet a need that you don't know anybody that can solve at this point?
Yeah, well, Google. In fact, we're looking for starting to do a little preliminary research for a couple initiatives for next year. And yes, you're right. I've got a network, and it's funny. Your biggest competitors, the ones that you respect the most, the ones that are your kind of arch nemesis, when you're out of that and you're no longer a competitor, you're like, hey, there's a reason why they were a formidable competitor all those years. So, you've got like your short list of, the agencies that do really good work. Definitely Google, and then of course, word of mouth, asking folks, peers in my chair and other firms, hey, who did you use for this? Who do you know? And that's really a good way to get to know firms for sure.
Sure, sure. Are you following any sort of media, whether that be, trade publication specific to, your industry, or the Ad Week and Ad Ages, the more marketing focused trade journals? Like, is
Yeah.
that something you're following to stay abreast of what's happening, or maybe no?
Yeah, I follow a number of sources. I wouldn't say there's any one that I'm like glued to. As you can imagine, with media consumption, it's a lot more snacking these days for me than it is eating a full course meal. I kind of snack all over the place and have really good people that I follow on LinkedIn, and they tend to share things that are interesting to me. So it's sort of like the things that get reshared by my peers and my network can often be what I end up reading the most. And I'd say it's a variety. I read some AEC specific things. I'm very involved in the Society for Marketing Professional Services, SMPS. It's what it's called. It's a marketing I like to tell people it's the American Marketing Association specifically for the AEC industry. I have been historically really involved with the American Marketing Association as well, even AdFed way back in the day. But yeah, so I'm involved there. That's kind of where you get a lot of the industry specific information, and then of course, the marketing profs and content marketing institute, and even HubSpot is still a resource where they have really good content to stay on top of things that are happening for sure.
Sure, sure. What about things like awards, agency awards? How much weight do you put into those? Is that something you're following or considering at all?
I think when you're looking at an agency, awards are not the top of my list, but I would say it adds clout. If I find someone that has the expertise, they have the portfolio of the type of work that I'm looking for, I like their vibe, and they've won some awards for their clients. Um, that is definitely important to me. I'm a bigger fan, to be honest, of agencies that win awards for their clients versus agencies that win awards for themselves. I'm much more impressed when the agency's like, "Hey, our client just won an award for, this, that, and the other." That seems a lot more client centric to me. Whereas, like, the agencies that are just after their own awards, and it's almost like the clients can be used so that you can win an award versus flipping that on its head when the client is the hero, when the client's the one on stage, but clearly you're the one that got them that website or that brand or that campaign. It's shared success. So that honestly appeals to me a whole lot more. Even when I was at the agency, we weren't an awards crazy firm. We tried to help our clients submit to win awards. If they won, we won, and it was like everybody was super happy. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my style.
Sure, sure. So if you were running an agency today and you were trying to stand out to a CMO like yourself, like what's one thing that maybe you would do differently than you see a lot of
Yeah,
agencies doing today?
great question. So as you can imagine, my first 60 plus days, I've been bombarded with LinkedIn requests, LinkedIn in-mails, emails, etc., even people mailing things to my office. I will say the people that have mailed me things stood out a whole lot more than the inbox. I've gotten a couple interesting gifts, sort of an account-based marketing approach. The interesting thing is no one's followed up. That's a huge miss, right? If you take the time to send me a fairly expensive giveaway with a nice little note saying, congrats on your new role. Would love to work with you sometime. Like, I'm still waiting on the follow up from that. So, you know who you are if you're listening. Like, come on, where's the phone call? Um, but, I think that's an interesting approach. I think the approach that I'm annoyed with as a CMO and also as someone who formerly sold agency services for 11 years is I've gotten a lot of requests from people that clearly didn't take 2 seconds to know what industry I'm in. It's like someone sent me an email saying, "Hey, we are a niche focused agency on manufacturing," and my response was, "We are not a manufacturing firm." It's like I don't know how that's where automation is the devil when it's like, yeah, just spend a few seconds and be a little more specific. If they'd said, "Hey, we're a niche AEC," I might be interested in learning more about you. But just I think when people don't appear to do their homework, that rubs me the wrong way. Plus, it just seems cheap and easy versus sending me something of value. Anyone soliciting their services in 2025 as your first point of contact, I just feel like, man, you've been asleep for what the best practices have been for the last really 10 or 15 years, which is lead with adding value. Give me something of value, share a report, share a study, send me this little mini website audit you did to point out the 10 things wrong that I might need to get fixed. But just those unsolicited salesy, "Hey, here's what we do, we'd love to do it for you, you're a dime a dozen." And unfortunately that's what everybody does, save for two or three people that have actually sent me something of value. So that's my
Yeah.
advice. And that's kind of where, at the core, my whole philosophy of marketing is really that the ethos of content marketing. It's like, how can we be helpful? If we're helpful to our potential clients, it's going to have a lot more sway in moving us closer to getting that business than if we're just like everybody else, which is we interrupt them, we annoy them, we send them mass communications that's very clear that I'm just a person on their list versus like I'm being really targeted and narrow. And most agencies, yeah, you're not after 1,000 clients. The majority of the agency world are very small agencies. They need like a handful of clients. They don't need 150. So you can be a lot more selective, and I think when you narrow kind of your approach, you're gonna be a lot more successful, really, in reaching the people that you're trying to target. So that's
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So this has been a great conversation. I'd like to ask you one final question before we break here. What are you most excited about in your head, whether that's in your marketing world or maybe you just personally?
Yeah, I am most excited about the momentum that we're building here on my team and with the all of the initiatives that are being laid out in the strategic roadmap. It's going to be a really big year of transformative change for our team, for our function in our firm. And our firm is hugely successful, very well respected, very much a high growth firm. And adding into that a really like a best in class marketing function is going to just propel us towards that growth even more. So I'm just excited about opportunity. There's so much opportunity to do some really great things, and I've got a wonderful team behind me that's going to help us together reach some really great heights with what we're doing. So that's my excitement for the year ahead.
Sure, sure. Well, I'm excited to watch that journey, and I will be, and I'm sure our listeners here will be as well. So, Tim, thanks again for the conversation, the insights, and to everybody watching, don't forget to follow CMO Journeys for more conversations with the marketing leaders that's shaping what's next. I'm Christian Badak. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.